Hello and welcome to Bread of Life, a daily devotional program which each week features a different area pastor. Our speaker for this week is Pastor Joshua Schiff of Orange.
Hi folks, thanks for listening to Bread of Life. I'm Pastor Joshua Schiff from Zion Lutheran Church in Orange. And today I want to talk about the conscience, that part of you that's always tapping on your shoulder, informing you about whether or not the thing you're doing or thinking is right or wrong, good or bad. And right now I want to talk about how a conscience can go bad. Having previously talked about the conscience can go bad by feeling guilty over committed sin, and how it can go bad by guilt over sin that you didn't commit, I now want to turn to how your conscience can go bad by being what the Bible calls seared, which essentially means that it has no guilt over sin. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, Paul calls this kind of conscience a seared conscience. In another place, Ephesians chapter 4, he calls this kind of conscience a calloused conscience. And what this is a conscience that's been hardened through sins that have become a habit. And the first time you did it, your conscience was guilt-ridden and you felt its burden. But the second time you did it, it wasn't as bad. But the third time, and then fifth time, and then 70th time you committed this same sin, you felt nothing. And that's because your conscience was broken. It was calloused and seared and didn't feel a thing as it walked forward to willfully commit sin again. Usually at this point, the sin will turn on its captor. Now that it's drowned the conscience, the sin will begin to demand more and more. This is the spiritual nightmare that accompanies addiction. And when this happens, when your conscience is silent where it should be speaking, when you find yourself caught in the throes of sin and you feel nothing when you commit it, there's really only one place to turn, and that is the law of God. For in this law, your conscience will find what it should be enforcing. Are your thoughts, words, and deeds bound to their love for God? Are you looking to serve your neighbor? Are you harming yourself? What do the 10 Commandments say? Do you have another God? Is it wealth or prestige or power? Do you keep yourself from cursing and using God's name to justify your wickedness? Do you faithfully hear and learn God's word? Are you faithfully attending worship? Do you honor those who are in authority over you? Do you have thoughts filled with hate? Do you lead a sexually pure and decent life? Or do you have a heart and eyes full of lust? Do you find ways to rob others of what they deserve, or do you pay them what they owe? Do you backbite, run others down the road? Do you speak well of all? Do you covet things your neighbors have been blessed with? Keeping these words, these commandments stored up in your heart is the only way to know that your conscience is not becoming seared. It's the only way to be able to tell that you're not becoming a hardened sinner. This is why we should study our word every single day. Not because it will save us as if we're earning our salvation with it, but because it keeps the conscience up to date. It keeps it fine-tuned and running on the right rules. Now, once you've been woken from the nightmare of living in unrepentant sin, once your conscience begins to function again properly, and your guilt over sin will come screaming back. When it does, it's important to not get overwhelmed, but to remember the story of the prodigal son, the one who ran away, lived in filth, and returned home, only to find his father overjoyed at seeing him, only to be reinstated in his sonship. This is what awaits you as you return from the no man's land of living in open, unrepentant sin. A kind, loving Father who has paid for that sin by sending his son Jesus to die on the cross so that he might forgive you and bring you to be with him for all eternity. This is Pastor Josh. Thanks for listening and have a great day.
You've been listening to Pastor Joshua Schiff of Orange, and this has been Bread of Life, a program to encourage you from God's Word.